Today I'm going to show you how I took these clam shells and turned them into the most beautiful trinket dishes. Stay tuned. Now I'm using clam shells, although you could probably use any seashell that you could find. These are pretty good sized. First thing I did was make sure that I cleaned them very well, and then from here we're going to take white acrylic paint, and I want to paint the insides of these. I'm making sure that I reach the entire top and get all the nooks and crannies inside these shells. I am making 9 of these, I believe, so it's kind of assembly line work. And I want to be able to move on and get the second coat on here, so I'm just using my heat tool, and I'm going to dry these. Now, once they're dry, it's time for a second coat. I'm going to dry them with my heat tool just as I did the first time, and then we can move on. And now I'm painting the backs of each one of these shells with a gold metallic acrylic paint. And this was found at Hobby Lobby back in the actual painting department. And once again, using my heat tool, I want to make sure I can get these completely dry. And once I get the second coat on and we get those dried, then we're going to use something called Rub and Buff. And this is in an antique gold color. This is also found at Hobby Lobby. I have purchased it at Walmart and other craft stores as well. I'm kind of dry brushing this on. I just want to give a little bit of depth and a color change to that gold so it's just not so bright. So all I did was kind of dry brush it on. Then using my paper towel here, I was just kind of buffing it in. And now that I've got that done, we're going to take a small trim brush and I'm going to go around the top edges of all of these clamshells. And I'm just kind of putting a little edge on them, making sure that I get, basically it's like painting the rim, and you can kind of see it here. I'm not being too worried about perfection here because we've got other things we need to do to the inside of this clam as well. But I just wanted to create a little edging and making sure that the clamshell is completely covered, whether it's inside or outside. And here you can see that I've got everything outlined basically on the top. And I'm going to let these sit a while so that they can dry as well. And from here, we're going to use Tim Holtz collage paper. And I've got this in beautiful floral color that I'm going to use. And you can see how thin it is. So that's why we painted the inside of the shell first, because you would have seen through it and you would have been seeing the shell color. So once I've decided which one I'm going to start with, I'm going to cut some slits in the paper because we need to get this into the curve of the shell. So I'm going to start with Mod Podge, coat the entire inside surface here. And as soon as I've got that nice and coated, not too thick, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to lay it down inside. And you'll see how this kind of conforms to the curve a lot easier after putting those notches in. And I went a little crazy with the notches, and as I laid this in, I got it a little too far into the shell, and I'll have to do just a bit of patchwork to cover the rest of it. You'll be able to see it in a minute here. See the edge of that? There's no paper there. So I'm just taking my fan brush with a little bit of Mod Podge on it, and I'm pushing into all the little nooks and crannies that are on this shell. And it's actually moving very smoothly. So now I'm going to cut a little piece off that I need to add to this one. And because it's on an edge, I don't really need to do any notching of the paper. I'm just going to lay it down on the Mod Podge and then go ahead and coat it. And I'm not going to be cutting or trimming any of the paper off of here yet. Trying to smooth all my wrinkles. And then we're going to set this aside to dry. This paper is so beautiful. I've had it for a while and just really wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. But when I got these clamshells out, I thought this would be the perfect piece to use with it. Once again, I'm coating the inside with the Mod Podge first, and I'm using my fan brush. Now I'm laying that in there, and this time I tried it without cutting the notches in it, and it really actually seemed to work. And without using a lot of pressure, I'm actually able to push that brush with the paper up into all those little nooks and crannies, especially that top part of the shell. Now when they're dry, I'm taking a nail file and I'm filing off the edges of these. And it worked somewhat, but in the end I end up using something else. I grabbed one of my sanding pads, and this worked a lot better. So I'm just brushing down on the paper, on the edge of the clamshell, and the paper's coming off very nicely now. And if there's any little bits that are standing up, we can add a little bit of Mod Podge to it and get that to lay down nicely. These are already looking so pretty. Now I can use the nail file again and just kind of trim up the little bits. So we're going in with another coat of Mod Podge on these. I want to make sure they're covered nicely. Getting any little bits that might be sitting up on top. All right, so once this second coat is dry, I want to go back in with my gold metallic paint, and I want to reapply the trim paint just up on the edges. And now that that Mod Podge is dry, it makes it pretty easy to be able to remove any of the excess. But look at that. Didn't that turn out great? I was so excited about this project, and it turned out wonderful. Every shell is different. The patterns on the papers are different. And we've got beautiful little trinket dishes for your rings or your necklaces or some coins, whatever ends up being what you want to use it for. Thanks for stopping in, everyone. Come back for my next video.